because the organization just kind of fell apart. The invitees from July no longer want to play in it, and every problem conceivable happened. But we had exclusivity with IC Cup TV, and we had 5 different people casting those games. Myself, Mac, Railcoon, Kraken, Jodo, everybody was casting those games, and it didn't really seem to benefit the channel at all, because so many of the games were just one-sided, and so many of the games were just underwhelming that interest dropped off quickly. And I feel like if there's a small tournament with a really, really good game between 2 well-known players, everyone should be able to cast it right away in their own way. I mean, because it's going to be different every time. And the more people cast it, the more complete view you get of a game. And really, if I publish a game that's already been seen a million times, if there are even 100 or 200 people who haven't seen it, and I made their day, because that is an epic game, and they hadn't seen it before, so I'm fine with it. And like I said earlier, the wealth of games hitting the internet every single day, I don't feel like there should be a lot of overlap, except for that top maybe 2 or 3%, like the extremely, I don't know, valuable games, I should say, like TLO versus Dimaga. That's an instant draw. Even if the game is very one-sided, it's an instant draw because you have TLO, fan favorite, Dimaga, one of the best Zergs in Europe, clashing. No matter what the game entails, it's going to be watched.
And this particular game was not one-sided at all,
no,
I must say.
No, it was quite fun to watch.
Indeed it was. But yeah, what you say is, well, I guess the sort of free trade, raw democratic view upon the thing, that people get to choose the commentator they prefer, the style they prefer, and it's all down to the consumer, really.
Yep.
And that has its points, and according to some people, its drawbacks. But regardless, one must say that the sort of StarCraft YouTube scene is spreading like the bubonic plague, about as fast and about as organized, and no one really knows how it's going to develop. So it's a very exciting time right now. There's very little precedence. We learned a lot from Brood War, but this is entirely new on an entirely new level, and yeah, it's very interesting to watch and to participate in. We'll just have to see how it goes, who will last, and in what way casters and indeed the audience will develop.
That's right.
But I'd also, this is not StarCraft related as such, but very much YouTube related. And I introduced you as a new school commentator of the sort of latest generation, if you will. And sort of the very much online on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and producing content for people to see all the time kind of guy.
Right.
And on your videos, in the video description for quite a while now, you've had a link to a quite interesting thing. It's a job application for something called HWAITIng, and I genuinely think this is a cool idea. Nothing I would do personally, because I certainly don't have the time, but for someone who produces a lot of YouTube content anyway, it seems to go very well hand in hand. And why don't you tell us a bit more about it?
Okay, so HWAITIng is the site, and basically the owner, Jason Sadler, has been doing it since 2009. What he does is he sells calendar days for small businesses to buy. So, for example, January 1st would cost you $5, January 2nd might cost you $10, etc. Just whatever day you want to buy, there's a price tag on it. And if you're a small business and you buy this calendar day, what you get is Jason and soon to be 4 others. I'm applying to be one of those. He will wear the t-shirt with your small business logo. He'll make a blog post about your company. He will make a YouTube video detailing your company and whatever promotions you've got going on for the time being. What a lot of small businesses like to do is on the day that Jason is wearing their shirt, they'll run promotions for 15% off, or maybe they'll have a giveaway or something like that, depending what the business is. So it's a great way to reach a lot of people at one time, and having a promotion code that only lasts a day or two goes very well with that. And Jason has something like 24,000 followers on Twitter. He's got his own website. He's got he also does a an hour-long live Ustream show where he just sits on camera wearing the small businesses shirt and chats with the viewers, and name drops your company throughout the show, and gets everybody to like your stuff on Facebook and tweet about it. So you're getting basically a bunch of prepackaged viral marketing is essentially what it is. And it goes great for me because the first real job that I had out of college, I actually had to win via a YouTube competition. If you watch my application on iwearyourshirt.com, I actually talk about it a little bit. But I was a spokesperson for a year where I had to do blog entries every day and a YouTube video once a week. And I'm used to it already. Like, YouTube is my bread and butter now by this point. And I feel like I was a spokesperson for a year. I could do it again, this time not for one company, but for 365. And I just feel like that's what I'm comfortable doing. The job was almost made for me. I tried to have real jobs before where I had to wear a suit or at least, nice clothes to the office, and I couldn't do it. Like,
T-shirts, man. T-shirts.
Yeah, so T-shirts, that's all I wear anyway. So, I mean, it really is. I feel like the job was designed for me. And when I first heard about it in 2009, I was like kicking myself for not having thought of it myself. So if anyone wants to give me some support there, maybe Sebastian will put a link in the video description here.
He will.
Excellent. So so please check that out and support me if you have the time. I would love that.
Well, I just think it's a pretty cool idea, and I also believe that this and other opportunities like it is something that definitely will appeal to many viewers out there who are YouTube consumers. Well, YouTube junkies perhaps would even be the best phrase to describe it. I certainly am. And I think many of us wouldn't mind the idea of making a living out of sitting here all day anyway. So it's just for the value of the many. This is an inspiring example, I think. So I'll definitely post a link, and if you have managed to convince people of doing so, I'm sure they'll help you out. But however, as is the case in many interviews lately, we spend a lot of time talking around the game, but not so much about it, StarCraft 2. And I think we could dwell a bit about the current state of the game. You watch a lot of high-level games and
Indeed.
And play some as well. I just like to get your take upon the current state of it, its balance, where it's heading, if you see any particular patterns and whether they should be addressed. Is Zerg using creep tumors too little? Is Terran economy too overpowered? What strikes out to you?
Well, being Wings of Liberty, being the Terran campaign, being the Terran expansion, I feel like so much more time was put into the race as a whole that they have so much more diversity and a lot more fun units, quote-unquote fun units to pick from in every single game, whereas Zerg are sort of pigeonholed into a reactionary race as a result. They have far fewer fighting units, and basically Terran can dictate a game against Zerg. I still feel that even in high-level replays, you almost never see a Zerg attacking a Terran to start a game. It's almost always get as much information as you can as a Zerg player and react to, whether it's a bio ball or a Hellion drop or whatever. And what's interesting to me is that in Korea, the GSL has been going on, and Zerg have noticeably been doing worse against Protoss than against Terran. And the consensus from other interviews and other just media all over the internet have said that in Korea, Protoss are the race that are overpowered, while in the US and in Europe, from what I've seen, Terran seems to be the terror of the ladders. But I'll play any race. I play random as much as I can just because I do enjoy all three, and I don't like grinding games out as a single race. It just gets boring to me. So I try to do my best to stay up on at least some of the standard builds for every race when I do my playing. But I play more for fun than competitively, so I feel like beyond 1v1, the game is balanced. I like where it's at. I feel like Zerg could maybe use one more spell on a unit, or maybe a whole unit altogether. I don't really think that's necessary, but maybe some interesting fun spell. Day 9 said it before. If Zerg just had something that players wanted to play it because they had that one thing, like Terran. Yeah, like a nuke or like a mothership, something just crazy that Zerg can have that can strike fear into the other player. Like that's just what makes it more fun. And I feel like
marketing factor.
right, and the more people who want to play the race, the more people who will take the time to get good at it, and the more parity we'll see at the higher levels, or at least at the diamond level, if not the top 1%, the top 10%. So I myself enjoy playing as any race. I just love I basically try to do off-the-wall strategies. If I'm Protoss, I will try to use Warp Prisms as much as I can. If I'm Zerg, I will try to use Nidus Canals. And it's not a matter of winning or losing to me. It's just a matter of what can I pull off against this, random opponent. That's fun for me. And but at high levels, it's pretty apparent to me that Terran has been fleshed out a lot more lovingly, I guess, this time around than the other two races. Although, I mean, all three of them are fun to play. So I might not be the right guy to ask about that, but I enjoy watching it no matter what. And, when you do have a decided advantage or disadvantage, and the disadvantage side wins, it makes it that much more exciting to watch, honestly. The underdog.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's sort of what the direction YouTube has gone into. I get so many requests for Hydra and Dimaga because those guys can win with Zerg, and people love to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And back in the Brood War days, that was definitely the case. I can't here just pull something out of memory like an exact situation, but back then, and still, if you watch Korean Brood War now, it's down to a science. It's perfected. But every season they release new maps that upsets the meta game and that makes the old strategies perhaps not entirely obsolete, but they'll have to adjust this science every new season.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's still certain aspects, particularly map-specific aspects, where, say, Terran is highly overpowered, and that's just the way it is. And all the Korean players who play on TV are immensely good, but there are some that are even better. And once in a while, one of those managed to figure out how to beat this disadvantage that the other race had in this particular situation on that map. And that was the best to watch.
Right.
and then people knew more about the game than people do about StarCraft 2 now, obviously. So you could anticipate this advantage, and then if someone managed to break it, that was a nerd riot. So that's what we want. Back in my previous interview, which at the time of this recording has not been released yet, one of the guests mentioned brought up that Terran might have a shorter learning curve compared to Zerg, so that it might take a longer time for people to figure out Zerg. But when they do, that might be just as powerful, if not more, than current Terran games. So time will make StarCraft 2 a lot more interesting, judging from history. So it should be epic to watch and epic to record, I'm sure.
The evolution of the game is one of the most exciting aspects. You're right.
Yeah. Especially if you look back, so much will change. That's the only thing we know. So do you have any particular predictions about, for example, the GSL is now over, and our Team Liquid boys, they didn't win, but they did fight hard, and there's a new season kicking off soon, and then there's the BlizzCon, where I'm sure TLO and many others will be present. Do you have any predictions, hopes, or whatever about what pro gamer will lead the field in the near future?